Aloha High Spa friends. I am Cecilia Herchik, High Spa president. I am sure you all remember that emotional wellness was the biggest trend in the wellness space before the coronavirus, and it will become more important after. I actually expect that more people will suffer from the post-traumatic stress levels of anxiety, and mainly because of that extended social isolation. Having said this, I want to thank you for staying connected with High Spa team every week. We try to keep the wellness community connected while most of us are on furlough without our jobs right now. And we continue to focus on sharing advices as we are planning to reopen our businesses. And I trust you're staying healthy, even though that we are apart and we cannot mingle like we like to do. But we just want to let you know that we are here for you. Today, I have a great pleasure to introduce to you my esteemed colleague, Miss Amanda Schmid, as our new member of High Spa Board. Amanda is assuming the role of Madam Secretary. The Secretary's duties include managing all the High Spa communication, preparing and keeping track, actually all of us, the meetings and the dates and minutes, in charge of the website, ensuring that all the communication is going to go through her, including the quarterly newsletter. So she's definitely going to be very, very busy. A little bit of small bio for Amanda. She is the Four Seasons Director of Spa and Wellness for the Naupaka Spa in Ko'olina in Oahu. And Amanda has managed a huge, diverse portfolio of day spa salons, resorts, recreation, fitness facilities in various markets like Chicago, Orlando, New York, and all the way to Dubai. So, and she has worked for iconic brands like St. Regis and W Hotels and Weston's, Elizabeth Arden, Trump Hotels. And she and I actually worked together for WTS International. So it's the second time that we both worked together. And now, of course, at the Four Seasons Resorts chain. So right now, I just want to pass the baton to Ms. Jen, our High Spa VP, and she's going to explain a little bit about our presentations.
Aloha, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. It's great to see everyone again this week. I'm really excited about this week. For those of you that have joined, we are now on our 5th week of a 6-week series that the team and I have been just meeting with different members of the community and asking our high five, our 5 questions on getting a pulse on what's going on out there. For those that haven't been able to join us, we do have all of those recorded and available on the website, as well as we have launched a new YouTube channel. So you can get the details from that. Oh, thank you, Sean, for bringing that up. But we've had the pleasure of speaking to a doctor in the local community, Dr. J. We had the opportunity to speak to a general manager to let us know how it is still operating a hotel. We've had a corporate spa director give us the insight from more of a multi-location and across the nation. And we also had one of our vendors, Robin from Ola Apothecary, who was able to give us the insight from a vendor's point of view and how this is affecting her. So this week we thought that we would take the opportunity in our 5th week of this series to ask those same questions to our board members. So those of us here on the call, we really wanted this call to be about us connecting and open it up to Q&A so that we can share any knowledge that we have learned through this time to share with you. And so I'm going to kick it over to Sharon today. Sharon is going to be our moderator. For those of you that haven't had the opportunity to work with Sharon, she's been in the industry for a while. She's one of our advisory board members and kind of the big brain that we look to. So thanks for being here, Sharon. And I'll kick it over to you to moderate the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And just as a note for everyone, this session does have question and answer at the end. So feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll address them after we do the high five call questions for our board members. So please make sure you put those in. We want to hear from you. We want to see what you're curious about, and whether we address it in this board session or follow up with you. We want to make sure that this is a community, a place to land for the community. So please do that. And to start off our high five questions, we're going to our illustrious president, Miss Cecilia. So, Miss Cecilia, can you tell us how the new normal has changed the way Four Seasons is doing business at this time?
You know, to be honest, I believe that these are the most difficult times I have ever experienced over 25 years plus some spa career that I have. But I have the utmost faith and confidence that we're going to prevail, and, you know, we're going to stick with our true priorities and stay connected and taking personal responsibility and also relying on each other. And I think these, you know, we're going to work together in the spa community and different communities. So very excited about seeing the connection that we have. But from the Four Seasons Resort side, we had an incredible partnership that they just finished forging with Johns Hopkins Medicine International, and is to validate the new global health and safety program called Leads with Care. And this is so important because we are, as a company, we're experts on a lot of different things, but not on what is going on. And to have this incredible partnership with such a renowned entity that we have access to advice, and they can validate everything that we are implementing for our employees and our guests. We have these experts that we can actually connect on a daily basis from the Johns Hopkins Medicine program. And this program is being launched, so we call it the Lead with Care globally. And what kind of incredible partnership that, you know, they're going to give us this advice at any time, every time we want to implement something. And plus, things change constantly. So to be having that support, the safety is our first priority. And while the Four Seasons experience may look a little bit different in this new environment, it will ultimately feel the same. I feel like our dedicated employees will continue to deliver the same intuitive service and personalized care, even though that we may have a mask in some cases. Which, you know, the Four Seasons is so very well known and trusted around the world.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Yes, a few of the things that you said just resonated, right? It's truly having partnerships. I think that's going to make a big difference. A lot of the brands, the wellness brands, are creating those partnerships because we need to leverage community, and that's really what the Hawaii Spa Association is meant to do. You also said something so important about faith and community, right? That your adamant faith and the beauty of the ohana and the community in Hawaii are what's going to bring us through, and that so resonates. It's like Jim Collins' Good to Great, where good is the enemy of great, right? So in turbulent times, our greatness will show. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Amazing. So we're going next to Sean Hallam, and Sean, running multiple locations with Freedom Spas. What is the advice to members that you have as our members plan to reopen their locations?
Wow, well, it's an unending list, really, but I have a couple of things I've been thinking about a lot recently. And it all boils down to education, ironically, in my role, something I'm very passionate about. And preparation and education are, I think, two of the things that we can do very well to, number one, create consumer confidence, but number two, create more employee confidence in coming back to work. And I actually have something I want to share with you, if you don't mind. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We created a pre-opening strategy for our spas, and just food for thought for all of you. But I think it'll bring to the table some of the things we've considered and felt were very important to address with regard to reopening. And so, having that strategy, number one, is critical. But also using a multitude of resources to bring all the information together. I mean, I know that we've all been at home, whether we're working full-time, we're working part-time, maybe we're not working at all. I think we all are using our computers and our handheld devices and reaching out to people for information. So using this time to get all that information and to put it in a central hub is really important. So what we've done is we've been able to curate all of the information we've had available, just like we did for High Spa on the education page, and put it in one place for all of our employees at Freedom Spas, and also for all of our vendor partners and for our resort hosts within which we operate our spas. And so we put together this central hub of information. We have created resources and information regarding how we procure our PPE, who wears it, why it's important, what the steps are for our team and for our guests in the new normal. So we put together a whole timeline and how we are planning to operate, and we've taken into consideration how we separate people in space and time, how we use the personal protective equipment, how we're conveying information to guests and to the team on a schedule. I think we've all been figuring out how to use this time while we're closed to make sure that we're productive, but always moving an inch closer to opening every day. So awareness is really key. I have probably 3 to 5 hours of Zoom calls with my team every week. Even though they're at home, they have scheduled times where they're meeting with me about training. Thoroughly going over procedures that seem very simple. We talk about cleaning, disinfection, and sanitation always, but it is a process that needs to be done very carefully, and showing people how to do it, showing them videos, activating my camera and actually cleaning surfaces and showing what that looks like, things like that. And also having a response policy if in fact something goes down, like what are you going to do if it happens? Because people are thinking about that. So, my advice is that you have a clear policy on how you not only address the physical space, because we're talking about how we open our physical space, but how we create our personal space as well in that environment. We're teaching people how to wash their hands, but are we teaching them mindset? Are we teaching them how to, really navigate through this new normal where they might not be making the commissions they used to make? They might not be working the hours they used to have. So, where we're talking about not only physical space maintenance and how we handle ourselves from just sort of a mechanical point of view, but also mindset. We are also doing lots of certifications like all of you. We've done everything I can get my hands on, I can tell you we've been doing. I've done personal health and safety trainings that I've created for the team. They do a number of hours with me personally, but then we're using our excellent vendor resources like Universal Companies, Barbicide, Milady's. We're really having everyone get engaged in that, educating folks on, what does it mean to use EPA approved products. Goes on and on and on, but you can see just from here, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what your strategy is, it's just have one because having one gives people the confidence they need to come back to work. It's not just about being able to open the space or being allowed to, it's feeling safe to do that. So, I'm letting people know like what their first day is going to look like, how we're going to communicate to our vendor partners. I have statements on what we're going to promise to our guests and what we're going to ask from our guests, meaning are they going to have to do temperature checks? What are their screenings going to look like? What will it feel like? Where will I post signage? Where did I get all my information? And let me share all those links with you so you can see what I'm looking at. And then making sure that I'm talking to my resort partners on what I need from them. Because the team has to work in those places, right? So they're going to want to know that, number one, they have a company that knows what they're doing, but number two, they need to be in an environment that supports any process or policy that you design. So using this time now to get ahead of that and talk to your hotels and make sure that they're ready to support you in the new normal. So, I have some things here. Making sure you get updated from your hotels. Like if you're a spa partner within a hotel, you'll have all your own policies, but what are they doing? And making sure you understand, will your team need to do a temperature screening twice, one with you and one with them? Will you need to wear a certain kind of mask because it's a hotel mandate? What have you? So you can see it's pretty complex, but if we all work together, we've got it. So that's just a high level overview. I could share hours and hours, and I know I don't have that with you today, but in summary, have a plan. That is my advice.
Thank you so much, Sean. That was so much to unpack, and you're right. It all boils down to, it doesn't matter what plan you have, it matters that you have a plan, right? You said physical space, but also personal space. And I love that not only managing multiple locations, but being a coach yourself, you understand that it's the guests that we're focused on, but as leaders, also the team, right? And their mindset. And one of the premises of a coach, because you and I have talked about this, is that we're assuming that everyone is coming into the relationship whole and complete, right? So assuming that our guests are whole and complete and assuming that the team is, I think that advice is important to say, prepare yourself, even if your leadership is not there, even if your company's not open, but make sure that you have the mindset coming in that you are whole and complete, so that when your leadership gives you that there's resilience and nimbleness, because information is flowing so fast. So
yeah. Policies actually don't keep people safe. It's someone's engagement in a process that will keep them safe because they're in control. So as long as they're in control, then that's where safety and fulfillment happens. And I tell you, people really want that now more than ever. They want to feel in control, and they want to feel as though they have a choice to engage in everything. So you can have all these policies, but if you don't have the confidence that they're the right thing for the right people, then it's all for naught. So
yeah, wonderful. You said that confidence and awareness, and I think those are equal. Thank you, Sean. So moving from Sean, Daryl, I'd like to ask you, as managing from a region as vice president with Mandara Spas, but being centered and balanced in Hawaii, what do you think is important to us as a community, as an association, to maintain the Aloha Spirit in this time and as we move forward?
Well, thanks, Sharon. Just listening to Sean, that it's a nice segue because, with all these new details of personal PPEs and face shields and gloves and all the things that will become the new normal, we need to realize that it's not that, an effort that people are having to go to endure coming to our spas, but ultimately we need to take a step back and realize that people, like the old days, want to come in for an enjoyable experience. The beauty of a massage, the benefits of a facial, and everything that what we used to know as the reasons for coming to a spa, we shouldn't let, or we should try and not, as we go forward, try and not let all these new additions and sanitation enhancements and everything that we're going through overshadow the real spirit of what we exist for in the first place. And that gets down to, of course, aloha. Mandara Spa originated in Bali, and Asia is known as, is very well known for its service standards, guest service, etc. The Japanese, of course, have even a special term for it, omotenashi, that they bring guest service down to a fine art. And so, of course, the equivalent here of what we do here in Hawaii is the Aloha Spirit. And I think that is the secret to where we can make our imprint to overcoming this whole new normal and welcoming the guests back to the spa and still getting them to want to come and enjoy a spa experience by offering the spirit and feeling of aloha, even if it is behind a mask or a face shield, but the spirit and the smile and the overall positive energy that we can extend to our guests is the challenge that we will have to face as we move forward to this new normal. And, you know, I was trying to think, there may be an analogy that we can make. I was trying to think what could be the equivalent analogy. And I was thinking that maybe travel, if you think of when we go on a vacation to a choice destination, whether it's an exotic island in the Caribbean or, you know, wherever we choose to go for a vacation, ultimately we go for the culture and the food and the sights and everything that we enjoy about the destination. But we've learned that to get there, there is the, you know, the hassle of customs and immigration and the sitting on a plane for hours and hours to get anywhere, and the baggage claim and the security lines and everything that we have to go through. Over the course of time, we've now come to accept that that is part of travel. And likewise now with our new spa services, we just need to accept that all these PPEs and all the sanitation that Sean was eliciting so well is now part of our new normal. And again, the way to overcome that is through the Aloha Spirit. And, you know, just in conclusion, we were just talking a few days ago, and we thought that when you think over to the mainland and what's happening with the civil unrest and the riots that are going on, that we should just give some thought out to our colleagues in the various cities and what they're going through. Next week, we've got one of our speakers who, in fact, was personally affected. His business was personally affected. And I guess we'll hear more about that next week. But, you know, the mere fact that we here in Hawaii had a flattened COVID-19, you know, a real flat curve, we weren't that affected. I think it's, you know, we should just step back a moment and realize what our colleagues on the mainland in various cities have undergone, both in terms of COVID-19 and followed right on the heels thereof with the civil unrest. And if you translate that maybe to our Hawaii situation, every life matters for us. You know, we should take care of and be, the lesson maybe that we can get from the mainland is that we do have here in Hawaii a vast array of minorities, you know, whether it's Japanese or Filipino or Chinese or wherever people come from. We should recognize that each culture has their particular needs, and we should use the mainland experience as a wake-up call to listen and not just blandly going through with PPEs and policies and procedures and SOPs, but we should take a chance, take the opportunity to realize that as we start opening up, our team members are going to be very, very hesitant and worried about their own personal issues, whether it's their, you know, coming back to work and wanting to work in a safe environment, or worrying about their family, or have they got children's care, or whatever the issues they may have. We need, as leaders in the industry, we need to be sensitive to whatever the issues that they may have and listen to what they have. And regardless of how insignificant we may feel it is, to them, to each individual person, it is really, really important that every life matters, every employee matters. And, you know, as we go forward, I think we should use this as I say, a wake-up call to, as leaders in the industry, that before we can take care of our guests, we should really be able to know that we're taking care of our own team members. And with a combined ohana and feeling of aloha, we can then go forward, start reopening, and successfully run our businesses.
Wow, Daryl, thank you. And just knowing who you are and having worked alongside you for many years, you truly have the integrity of that Aloha Spirit. You've lived it, and you show up with it every day. So thank you. It's so important that we remember to take the time, right? And with Hawaii having that longer time frame, to stop and be aware, to take those moments, to be thoughtful, and then when we come back, that it's with that presence, with that consciousness. And thank you for that reminder. That's so important.
You're welcome.
Jen, for montage at the luxury set, so many things, and exciting that some of your brand is opening up and kind of giving some lessons. So what lessons have you learned during this time, personal, professional? What lesson have you learned? You're on mute, my Jen.
There you go.
I love this question, and you know, I thought about it when I was reading through our questions when we first put these together, and this is the question that resonated with me the most, because I think it's twofold. We all learn professional every day. Our industry, there's a new scenario every day when we go into work, right? And for this time, I've learned so much personally as well. So it really has been an eye-opening experience when you're forced to take time and step back and just observe what's going on around you. So I would say the biggest thing that I've seen through our company professionally that we've learned through the trials and tribulations, we have a couple of properties that have opened in other locations. We're scheduled to open July 1st as of now. But I think everyone has touched on it in their answers, but the biggest thing that we've learned is to reroute everything and bring it back to communication, right? That's what it all lies on. We can put together a 900-page manual on what to do, but if we don't, to Sean's point, if we don't get the buy-in from everyone and communicate it properly, then it's just going to be a 900-page manual that sits on the desk, right? And what I've seen us learn from our other properties that have opened is, and my advice to people would be, don't assume, because you may be in these conversations on a daily, on a weekly, you're living it, you're building the manual, so you're seeing it and breathing it every day. And you can't assume that your team is just automatically going to step into that same headspace. So you may find yourself, when it's time to reopen, connecting with your team and starting back at square one. You feel that you've already been through it for these 3 months, but this is the first time that they're seeing it. So making sure that your communication reflects that, and it may be the first time that someone has heard that they're going to have to wear a mask for 8 hours or wear gloves. And so bringing in, you know, as everyone is leaders in the industry, bringing that emotional intelligence into the conversation and being aware of how each person communicates, and it's going to be very different from one person to the next. I think that having multiple avenues to communicate with people when you get back is also extremely important. Some people do really well in this setting in Zoom. Some people you'll need to do one-on-one communication with, and you may not get your message across for several weeks, which may cause strain because you only have 3 days to open your spot. So I think just being mentally prepared for that and really having that foresight to build that communication and make sure that that's solid. That would be something that I've seen with our company, that we have done a great job of communicating, but we can always do a better job. So on a personal level, I have really enjoyed, through force actually, I am personally furloughed currently, and by no choice of my own, my email was turned off. If it had not been, I would still be checking it every day. I would still be connected. And I have learned that disconnect. And I have learned that it's okay to take that time for yourself. And a lot of people are feeling a lot of different emotions through this time. And we all feel it at different times. We all have our ebbs and flows and our peaks and valleys. And so I've learned to be grateful and to accept that space that I'm in, no matter what the moment is. But I've also, I think the bigger lesson is I've learned that those around me are at a different point at any given moment than I am, and to be really open to that space and really accepting of that space. And I think that it'll make me a better leader moving back into going back to work and just resharpening those skills of emotional intelligence and being aware of who is around me and how they're feeling. So I'm very grateful for this time for that. And there's lessons to be learned every day, but those are my two takeaways right now.
Beautiful. And so amazing. I think you're absolutely right. Every conversation is going to be different, and the conversation with the same person is going to be different. But your personal professional just connected. It was communication both ways, right? The foresight of, and how we're communicating with ourselves. Are we grateful to ourselves? Are we giving ourselves forgiveness for not checking that email and being, in the moment? So communication. Thank you, Jennifer. And our newest board member, Ms. Amanda, Madam Secretary, can you share with us, having joined the team, something that you have done or are doing to stay well during this time?
Yes, I think particularly for all of us who are in the spa and wellness industry, we are in our professional lives, kind of like what some of our other board members were saying, in our professional lives, we're so focused on taking care of our team and taking care of our guests and giving back that I think this is a really good time to live and breathe what we actually talk about that for ourselves in our own personal lives. And I think a little bit to what Daryl was saying, that we are very fortunate with the current state of affairs in Hawaii, that we need to recognize our blessings here. And so every morning I really focus on the blessing of the Aloha Spirit and where we are. And I ask myself every day, again, because so many of us are so used to getting up and being busy and checking emails. So I ask myself every day now that, life has slowed down, what did I always want to do previously? And I always said, what don't I have time for? So I really think it's important to actually set some personal goals. Like, we set goals in our work lives all the time, but if we can actually set personal goals during this time, it helps us keep ourselves accountable to really enjoying this time and counting our blessings for that. So a few very specific things related, I think, to three main pillars: our mind, our body, and our soul. So for the mind, I think it's really important to stay engaged in something. So I was excited that I actually had the time to do a nutrition certification course. So through NASM, I actually finished my class and I got a new certificate. So I'm excited that I'll be able to have a new skill set to offer with that. Also, for our body, obviously, we have more time to work out, but actually challenge ourselves to do things that we didn't do before. I actually had never run a 10K outside. I'd only ever done it on a treadmill. So I actually did a 10K outside. That was my goal. I did it. And now I'm in a push-up challenge with some people, working on doing proper push-ups. And then obviously our soul and taking care of that. I think, again, we're in such a great place to be in such a beautiful setting and really be in tune with nature around us, and being able to get out to the ocean and get into the mountains and really, really embrace this time with that. One thing that resonates with me is to think about our grandchildren to come one day. And this is such a historic time that our grandchildren will be sitting with us one day asking us, oh, were you around during that time? And what was it like? And asking us lots of questions about it. You know what we were like when we were asking our grandparents these kind of questions about, monumental moments in their history. And so I actually also find it really healing to keep a journal and to really talk about some of the things that are going on in the world and what we're doing with them and how we're feeling about it at the moment, but in a journal, because that's something that we could actually pass on as well one day.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amanda. You hit it right on the head. I think for all of us trying to balance that mind, body, soul. And I think an action step to have your personal as well as professional goals is so important, especially as we go back, because we'll have so much to do, right? And still so little time. So thank you. Well, thank you so much, board members, for the high five questions. At this time, we did want to open it up to just general questions. So if any of you want to unmute and ask a question, feel free. Are there any burning questions that you have? Jennifer's
yeah. Thank you for opening that up. I do have a question, and it goes along with what Daryl and Jennifer both said. I'll be coming back as an employee, and I don't know if this question can be answered now, but it's something that I think will be a challenge for leadership in how are you going to keep us motivated and inspired to do our jobs, not just in the circumstances, but knowing that when we come back, it's not going to be anything like it was before in a sense of our volumes. Sean said it himself. Our commissions could be lower. Our business volumes will be much lower, and it will be a slow build to get back to where we used to be. So on my end of things, I'm thinking like, I'm going to have a second job until we rebuild. And I'm fully committed to see this all the way through. I have kept my finger on the pulse. I'm someone who's been very informed. So I know more than some what we're about to get into. But yes, I think that's my concern, not learning the protocols with the PPE. And I understand we can give Aloha very well through mask and through social distancing. But what is going to keep me wanting to come back, knowing that once we open, that's just the beginning of another long episode in this recovery. Does anyone have any thoughts or feedback they'd like to give on that? Well, I have to jump in real quick, Sean, and then I'm going to but amazing question, and I just want to highlight that Jennifer works with me at the Montage. She's one of my massage therapists, and through this entire process, I don't think I've seen you not on a Zoom. She's emailing me constantly with information that she has found on her own. And so I just want to give you kudos, because this is what we would love to, and this is what we imagine, is that everybody is as informed as you and taking the initiative. So thank you for being here. And I'll just answer really quick from my side. And one of the things that I think we all need to, going back to my answer earlier on being aware of where each person is in this journey. And for our team specifically, there are people on the team that aren't going to be comfortable coming back. There's going to be people that I'm going to call them and say, we're going to open in 4 days. You're, full-time, you're part-time, whatever. And I'm going to go down the list, and they're going to say, I've got kids, I have no daycare. I just don't feel comfortable. And that's my job, and all of our jobs as leaders is to be aware and compassionate of that as well. And so there's going to be people that are ready right off the bench and say, okay, put me in, I'm ready. And so we obviously don't know what the volume is going to look like, but we also won't have a full team. I'm fairly certain of that, because we'll have those that just aren't comfortable, and that's okay. And we want to make sure that they stay safe and they feel safe. So that would be my answer, is keep doing what you're doing, stay informed, and we will continue to do our best to make sure that all of those safety precautions are in place for all associates with all of our different brands. But sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to steal that from you.
No worries.
I'm just so proud.
Well, awesome. Well, it makes sense, because thank you so much for being engaged in these discussions and for asking such an important question. For me, I think it's a multifaceted answer. And, from the employer side, I think a couple of things that need, for me, just speaking from an operations person, leading large and diverse teams, at the forefront of that for me is emotional intelligence, and really keeping that top of mind for me, really challenging myself to be aware of what's happening with my team and in my community, because this isn't just a matter of keeping a business open. This is our kuleana, right? This is what we do. It's a fiber of who we are, where we work, how we choose to spend our time. So there's a lot at stake. So having an emotional intelligence about what is happening is going to be critical from an employer perspective. And having that empathy, as Jen said, really understanding how people are thinking and feeling, and taking the time, as even Daryl said, connecting with people who have different perspectives from your own, and investing the time rather than retreating in fear, because what fear does for people is it allows them to protect themselves and close down and retreat. Your managers and your leaders and your executives are all included in that group. Mm-hmm. We shut down because of fear and uncertainty as well. So just challenging everyone to remember that fear is only present in the absence of opportunity. So what is the opportunity in the now to communicate, to be connected with my team, but also to communicate with them? I would encourage employers to be more transparent now than ever before. Like, do it now. Don't wait for this big reveal. You know, help people understand what's happening. You know, I work in a company where we're talking with our team about the Paycheck Protection Program, what it means, what's the consequence to our company, what do we need from them, what are their decisions. You know, we're putting it all out there so that people feel like they're part of the decision-making process, because they are, by the way. So that's the transparency piece, emotional intelligence, really important. From the team side, and just from a participant in my SPA community, I think we all have to dig really deep, because it's a personal decision, and we're human, so we evolve, right? And every day is different, right? Your moral compass points in new directions. Your feelings come up. Be true to that, honor that, but also accept responsibility for that in your own decision making. I think sometimes we live under the impression that happiness is delivered to you on a platter from an employer. You know, because they do this, I will feel that. It is so much more complicated than that, and it requires your participation. And I think, you know, to Jen's point, what we're seeing is a lot of people aren't going to come back to work. I've personally had therapists say, yeah, this isn't for me anymore. I'm not feeling it. It's not who I am. This is too complicated. It's not what I signed up for. That's awesome. Do you want to know why that's awesome? Because then people are getting closer to understanding who they truly are today. It's who you were yesterday doesn't mean it's the same person, right? So just making sure that you accept your personal responsibility in that. Always advocate for yourself, but listen to yourself too. Because honestly, I mean, you might decide that, hey man, I don't want to do a 5-hour shift wearing a mask when I don't love massage anyways. I don't really love it. I do it, but I don't love it. That might be the straw that broke the camel's back, and you're like, oh my gosh, I am now free to understand how I fit in this new situation. Because your employers are only one side of it. You're the whole other side. And also too, you're the only one in control. So remember, you're in control. And your employer.
I'm gonna shorten your contribution, but thank you. So important. But I know Sean can coach you for hours. So any other board that wants to contribute on this topic, or we can move? Cecilia's like, go, Sean, go. So no, thank you so much, Jennifer. I think you're speaking to so many employees' minds, and it resonates with the heart. And I would echo both leaders that you have the co-creation and co-collaboration, right? The power is in you. And when I impacted my team engagement the most, it was when I told them, you know, as a leader of 200 people, I can't give you everything that you need. So you as a community have to appreciate each other as well, and create the culture that you want, and you have to give what you need to the leader. So being that communicator and being involved is so important for you, because you have that much more of the ability to create the environment that will motivate you with Jennifer. So keep doing what you're doing, and be active in that process, because ever more the employees have a voice and an involvement. And so don't be scared to do that. Of course, do it respectfully as you would want to, but keep doing what you're doing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm in it for the long haul, Jen. Just to be clear, I'm so ready. I think it's gonna, like all of you said, it's an opportunity, and that is exciting. Even though it came from something as it came from, it is exciting that there's a lot of opportunity in it as well. So
there's always a silver lining.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What other questions? Or Jen, do you have a different question or another question? Or
no, that was been the burning one. It's just something that I've been on my mind. Like I said, I've been keeping up with everything, and just hearing from leadership's perspectives on that too. Just it helps, because like Jen said too, there's ebbs and flows to this. And one day I'm like, everything's great, and the next day it's like my unemployment didn't come through, which just happened, and then it's been like it's just been a roller coaster. But
well, it's what Jennifer
everyone.
and Sean said. Emotional intelligence, right? Understand that we're gonna be on that roller coaster.
Yeah,
So react
for a
just
while.
one situation, right? Reach out.
Hey, I have a question for you, Jen, with just how you're feeling about this whole thing, as you know, someone who is on the the front line, as well as really just trying to be an active participant. How does it feel to you when someone says something like, "We're all in this together"? Because I feel like I overuse that a lot. I'm just curious, like, how does that like connect with you when someone says it?
Well, it doesn't connect with me because it has been watered down. Jen knows me very well in the sense of like, I think hope is very important, but we have to face the reality of the situation. I'm from the East Coast. I still hold that mentality of just like, give it to me straight, 1, 2, 3. So I love the sentiment, but what does that mean? Like, what does that actually practically mean?
Yeah.
And that's where my mind goes. So I love the sense of community, but I also need a little bit more, like, what's the next step? Like, we're going to open. I'm like, okay, yeah, but there's so much more after that. So we're all in this together, but how are we in this together? And what does that really mean and look like?
Just curious, since we're having an open discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do the rest of you board think about those words? Or even Jess, Kamala, Lena, what do you guys think about "we're on this together"? I'm super curious.
I think somebody placed some information on Facebook about the word "we're all together." And it was a little bit unique, because we all have different levels of being together in this. Some people have more hardships than other ones. So the ones that they are going through really tough time are having a heck of a time listening to the word "we're all in together" when you're still getting your paycheck or you still have savings. And so I think we need to be cautious of how we use it.
That's great advice. Thank you, Cecilia. Kamala, you came off mute. Do you have some minutes?
Yes, I thank you for asking, because I feel I haven't actually used that particular term, but I can certainly relate now that I've been furloughed. For many of my staff, it happened in late March, and for me, it only happened in May. And surprisingly, a lot of my staff they seemed to be more concerned for my well-being, and they were kind of giving me tips on how to navigate unemployment. And so it was actually, beautiful collective, effort coming together. And since, this all happened, since our spas closed, hotels closed, I've made an effort to stay in touch on a regular basis, every week, coming together with Zoom calls and text messages and words of inspiration, or any links that I find that might be useful to people. We've just been sharing. But like Jen and I think Amanda mentioned, been almost a blessing in disguise, because I was one of those people who was, easily working 50, 60 hours a week, nonstop, available by phone, 24/7. And it took me about 2 weeks to actually detach myself and kind of slowly get out of that mindset. And now I'm able to utilize this time for self-development.
I love that. Thank you.
And take the courses. And it's been so wonderful. So I can relate and appreciate everything that has been shared here. The one question I do have, Jennifer Ayers, she mentioned, I guess the concern or people wanting to come back and maybe being a little hesitant. And it did bring up a question, because yesterday on the International Spa Zoom conference, I was surprised to hear by the directors whose spas have already been opened for 2 and 3 weeks, how high the demand is. And they're telling us, you know, you need to have your call center in place because there's going to be such a rush of people coming in. You have to be prepared for that. So I was pleasantly, you know, surprised, but also kind of maybe alarmed, because, you know, all the more reason we need to be ready. But for those employees, because I'm sure I have several, who are on the brink of retirement anyway, who may decide that they're not ready, I think that human resources might need to be involved, because one of the questions that unemployment asks you is, you know, have you been offered work? And if our human resources, they're going to ask, you know, based on seniority, are you offering these employees work? If my answer is yes, but they're not really comfortable coming back, our human resources department is going to inform unemployment that they were offered work and that work was, you know, denied for one reason or another. And I'm afraid that those payments are going to discontinue the benefits of unemployment.
Yeah. Kamala, that's a great question. I'm going to have actually Jennifer, because one of your properties opened, right? Or those of you that have a few that are open, could you chime in?
Yeah, it's a really great point that you bring up. And to Sean's point, and, you know, kind of the underlying theme on the communication and just being transparent with people. As you're communicating with your teams and saying, okay, we're opening next week or 2 weeks or whatever, and you're going down that list, that needs to be part of the conversation. We want to be compassionate and understanding if they don't want to come back, but we also need to be transparent and real as to what that means for them. If you're going to say that you don't want to come back and you think that you're going to just keep collecting the unemployment, that's not the case for Hawaii. It may be different elsewhere, I doubt it, but for here, they will have to answer that question differently. And even if they answer it and say they weren't offered work, we will be informing human resources, because they're on the back end of the weekly claims. So our human resources department will be communicating that they have turned down work. So that needs to be part of the conversation, that I completely understand that you are not comfortable with that. I want to assist you in any way that I can. However, you need to be aware that this is what's going to happen moving forward. So that transparency will be very important.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Thank you.
On that?
I just would add to that, you know, it's an opportunity as well to think about restructuring your teams and your respective locations to sort of meet the new demand. And I think if there are people who are on the fence, you know, really consider that in creating your new structure, because it might be a good time to say goodbye to people. And then that would allow them to take on that next step in their career path. For some that will be being on unemployment, you know, I think it's really important to be clear with employees that you are not the state of Hawaii. And so you do not make determinations. You merely satisfy the questions that you're asked by the state. And then to Jen's point, if you have like a human resources department that can partner with you in the process, that's what they're there for. And they're really smart. They know what they're doing and they want people to be successful. So use those resources.
Yeah, and I would just chime in. I've been on a lot of webinars, and as I know we all have, but what I'm hearing about the reopening is, you know, multiple levels. So yes, there's pent-up demand, so there will be an increase initially, and then it seems to peter off. And this is coming from the Irish Spa Association, from, you know, the Global Wellness Initiative calls, where it's global. So you're going to see a short-term increase, and then it will level off for a little bit. And so that's where, number one, the reputation is important, how we're handling the situation when we open, and how you're handling all that, the calls that are coming in, and then how you're maintaining that when it kind of levels off again. And then the other piece is to be creative as a leader, to say, well, if this is not comfortable for you, what other roles can you play in the short run? Because one of the pieces that people are not prepared for is the reservation system. So if you're not wanting to, you know, get behind a tape or with a client, perhaps you can help with taking voicemails or booking reservations or other things until you see that the rest of the team is safe and comfortable and working properly. So
that's a great idea.
but that short-term demand may or may not maintain is what a lot of people are seeing. So just to note.
All right, we have 3 minutes left, guys. So I think we're getting to the end here.
All right, any other, well, I have a question to close then, because it's important, I think, with Hawaii Spa Association that we maintain that balance. So going back into work, and I invite Jennifer and Kamala and all of you, what one thing that you've taken during this waiting period are you going to bring back into your work as a best practice? So what are you going to maintain as a personal practice or professional practice?
And I so want to let anybody go first before, because I have a tendency of like just kind of jumping in. So is there anyone else that wants to answer this?
Jennifer, why don't you start us off?
Well, what I'm excited to bring, we had to figure out what to do. And so this opened up my world. Being closed down in the pandemic, I had, you know, when you run with something and you have to keep up with it, there's a lot to learn. So just taking education courses, learning how to use new technology and finding new opportunities. What I'm excited about is that momentum is built up in my head, because I've been doing this for so long. You just sort of not really think about what you're doing anymore, but this sparked this just creative like gears in my head. So what I'm looking forward to bringing back is that continued momentum, because we're going to have to figure out so much and it's going to be forever changing. And I'm actually like, I'm excited for it. So that's what I'm stoked to bring back.
Perfect.
We've been doing a lot of fun things.
I'm going to go around the room. So Sean, what are you excited to bring back?
I'm excited to bring back an opportunity to innovate. We like blew up our business model in our head, and we're redoing everything. So it's nice to be untethered to like an old rule or an old thing, saying, if I could do it over today, what would I do? And guess what? I can do it. So it's an exciting time for innovation for me.
Thank you. Jennifer Holsworth.
I'm excited to bring balance back and know that it's okay to have a personal life on top of the spa. And at the end of the day, when I say, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym, I don't have time to work out, I just need to finish this email, I'm going to say, no, shut your computer down and go get on the treadmill. And I'm excited to just have that work-life balance.
Love it. Thank you. Daryl.
You know, again, I think what Jennifer outlined is exactly what I was thinking. You know, again, we're so tuned to working the 50, 60 plus hours a week that all of a sudden there is a real life out there. I'm just looking out the window and there's a beach and there's people sitting at the beach. And from my office at Mandara Spa without windows, I can't even see into the next room. And there's a real life out there. And there's a reason that people come to Hawaii to enjoy. And I want to be part of that. So
love it.
That's what I want to do.
Thank you. Amanda?
Yes, I think kind of combining what everyone was saying about excited about the innovation and the creativity and about the balance. I think this is a time to go back in looking more at like starting over and back to the basics, back to like, what are we really doing this for? To heal people and doing some new services, but back to, you know, more traditional services, less fancy. And I think that is what kind of brings in both things, the balance of what we're talking about, but also the innovation.
Thank you. Cecilia?
You know, I think for sure for me is more connection. I think we learn to be connected differently. You know, I have been talking with so many of my employees, so many managers, and even though that I work side by side with them, sometimes we don't really talk. And it has been beautiful to get to know people. And even on Facebook, somebody is a great cook and is putting recipes, and somebody is doing videos on working out, or you know, posting favorite you know, hobbies. And so I think we don't necessarily know our staff as well as we should, and this is giving us an incredible opportunity to focus on that.
Thank you. Kamala? 2 words. Or 1 word.
You're on mute.
Unmute.
It's actually, you know, 1 word, and it would be everything that you've mentioned, but gratitude.
Gratitude.
I feel like this has all been a rude awakening in some sense. And I feel like, you know, we all kind of, you know, as a whole, we're so caught up in the rat race and the meetings and the time frame and the drama.
Cut you off for time, Kamala, but gratitude. I heard you. Thank you. Nina, do you have a word? Are you there? And moving on to Jess Candy. Oh, Lena's off mute. Go ahead.
So yeah, no, I'm just excited that everybody is in this place of flexibility and openness, and you know, out of great pressure and great turmoil come great successes and great innovations and great leaps forward. So I'm just really excited. While all of this is horrible and really traumatic for a lot of people, I'm really, really interested to see what this industry in particular, with a lot of really generous individuals in it, what kind of beautiful things that we're now going to be able to put into the world and to see then grow and take flight and continue to evolve. So,
thank you, Nina, so much. Yeah. Jess Candy, are you there?
I'm here. I love what everyone is saying. In 2 words, I'll say innovation and balance.
Love it. We're bringing back innovation, balance, flexibility, gratitude, connection, back to basics, life, balance, and the spark. My word is aloha. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. All right, this is the 5th session. We have 1 more to go, guys. Next week, Cecilia is going to bring an exciting guest. And so we're going to have Rodney Cutler, who's a celebrity stylist who owns a number of salons, as Daryl mentioned, on the mainland in an affected area with all that's been going on. We'll be very eager to hear about how Rodney's doing, but also his answers to the high five. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this high five series. You know, this 1 more to go. I can't believe we're at the finish line, but I think it went really well. And we would love to hear from you. If you want to send an email to info@hawaiispa.com. Is it High Spa or Hawaii Spa Association? Let's look at it.
Hawaii Spa Association.
Thank you. info@hawaiispa.association.com as to suggestions and ideas on additional educational opportunities you'd like to see in a similar format. So something we could do as a group on Zoom to keep conversation going. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much. Much aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Thank you.